Most people think meditation takes years. They imagine they need to be sitting for hours every day, slowly training the mind, becoming calmer over time, until one day it finally becomes quiet. And if you've ever tried meditation, you probably noticed the following. You sit down, you close your eyes, you try to focus on your breath, and within a few seconds, your mind is already somewhere else. Thinking, planning, remembering something from earlier, jumping ahead to something that hasn't happened yet. And then you come back and realize you were gone the whole time. You were not in the present moment, you were lost in thought. That's usually the moment people think, I'm not good at this. Or, this is going to take a long time. But what if that idea is the only thing standing in the way? What if calmness is not something you reach after years of practice, but something you can notice immediately in something as simple as a single breath? The problem is not that your mind is busy, that's just what minds do. They think, constantly, effortlessly, automatically. The real problem is what we expect to happen when we sit down. We expect silence, but we meet noise. We expect calm, but we meet movement. And so it feels like something is going wrong. But nothing is going wrong. You are simply seeing your mind more clearly, maybe for the first time. And that can feel uncomfortable, because we are not used to watching the mind. We are used to being inside it. Meditation is not about stopping thoughts. It's not about controlling the mind or forcing it to become quiet. It's about recognizing that you are not the thoughts themselves. You are not your thoughts. And the simplest way to notice that is something that is always happening. Your breath. Not controlling it, not changing it, not improving it. Just noticing that it is already there. Just like your thoughts, just like your emotions. It is there, like a wave, coming and going. Sometimes intense, sometimes less intense. The breath is always here. You don't have to create it. You don't have to remember to start it. It's already happening, whether you pay attention to it or not. And that's what makes it so powerful. Because it gives you something that is always available. Even in the middle of a busy day. Even when your mind is racing. Even when nothing feels calm. There is still a breath. And the moment you notice it, something shifts. Not because the breath changed, but because your attention did. Because you did. You can try this right now, not as a formal meditation, just as a small experiment. Just notice your next breath. That's it. You don't have to breathe differently. You don't even have to sit differently. Just notice it as it happens. You might notice the air moving in through your nose, or your chest rising slightly, or your body settling as you breathe out. There's no right way to experience it. The only thing that matters is that you notice it. And in that moment, something very simple becomes clear. The breath was already there. You didn't create it, you didn't improve it, you just became aware of it. Your mind may still be active. Thoughts may still be moving, but you're no longer completely inside them, because you're using your breath as an anchor. An anchor to keep your mind, your focus, still in the middle of the storm of your thoughts. There's a small bit of space. You're aware of the thoughts instead of being carried by them. And that changes the experience. It might feel a little quieter, a little lighter, a little less overwhelming. Not perfect, but different. And that difference is the beginning of meditation. A helpful way to see this is to imagine your mind like a river. The water keeps moving, just like thoughts. You can't stop the river. No matter how hard you try, the water will keep flowing. But you don't have to stand in the middle of it. You can step to the side and watch it move. The river doesn't disappear and it doesn't sweep you off your feet. Your relationship to it changes. You can even smile at the river and enjoy watching it for a bit, without getting carried away. And the breath is what brings you to the edge of the river. This is why you don't need years of meditation to begin. You don't need to fix your mind. You don't need to become calmer first. You don't need to reach some special state. You only need one moment of noticing. One breath. And then maybe another. Not to achieve something, but to recognize something. that you are already here. That awareness is already present, that peace is not something you create, but something you notice. And this is not something that only works when you are sitting quietly. It's something you can notice in very ordinary moments throughout your day. For example, when you're walking somewhere, maybe to work or through the city, your mind is usually already ahead of you. It's thinking about what's next, replaying something that already happened, moving somewhere other than where you are. And without changing anything about that moment, you can simply notice one breath. Just one. And for a brief moment, you're no longer lost in thought. You're here again, walking and breathing at the same time. Or in a moment of stress, when something feels overwhelming and your mind starts speeding up, you don't need to solve everything at once. You don't need to fix the situation immediately. You can pause, even for a few seconds, and notice a single breath. Not to change what's happening, but to come back to yourself. And that small shift, even though it seems simple, often changes how the moment feels. Even at the end of the day, when everything becomes quieter but your mind is still moving, still going over things, still holding on to thoughts, you can notice the breath again. Not to make the mind completely still, but to stop chasing every thought that appears. And each time you do this, something very subtle becomes more familiar. You begin to see that this was always available to you. Not something you had to create, not something you had to earn after years of practice, but something you only needed to notice. And the more often you notice that, even in very small moments, the more natural it becomes. The more the seed of peace inside of you will be watered. The more peace will permeate your life. Not because you are getting better at meditation, but because you are becoming more familiar with something that was always there. And this is why you don't need years of meditation to begin. You don't need to fix your mind. You don't need to wait until things feel calm. You don't need to become someone else before you can do this. You only need one moment where you notice what is already here. One breath. That's where it begins. Not later, not after more practice, not when everything is quiet, but right here in something that is already happening. And the more often you notice that, even in very small moments throughout your day, the more familiar it becomes. Not because you are getting better at meditation, but because you are recognizing something that was never missing. So if you take anything from this, let it be simple. You don't need years, you don't need perfect focus, you don't need to stop your thoughts. You just need one breath and the willingness to notice it. So if you want, take one more breath now. And just notice it. No effort. No expectation. And see what is already here.